claimed that were forged signatures. Maybe you remember some of the accusations.
While chief and the body policy should not participate in partisan politics.
Thank you for joining us again, once again on Society, which comes to you every Wednesday from 18 to 19 hours. We'll just get to discuss issues affecting the nation and our communities at large. And this evening, I've got two guests who are just here to help us, highlight a few things about the speech to Parliament by President Edgar Lungu, as well as other pertinent issues affecting the nation. I've got President Mike Mulongoti and also the UPP's Deputy National Spokesperson, who are here to just help us understand the topics at hand. President Mulongoti, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers.
Mr. Musukwa, welcome back again after the rough, mayoral by-election campaigns.
I wouldn't call them rough, but thank you very much for hosting me, and good evening to the viewers in Lusaka and across Lusaka.
Okay. We are live on Movie TV, channel 43, on God TV, channel 96, Top Star, channel 458, and also live on our Facebook page, Liberation TV Zambia. And you can send your SMSs to 0978 47 74 37 just to get your comment and take part in the discussion for this evening. And like I said, our topic for tonight, looking at the speech to Parliament by President Edgar Lungu, as well as the misuse of donor funds, and which has since been suspended to several sectors of our economy. I'll start with Mr. Musukwa. Okay, in the presidential address to Parliament, Mr. Lungu did indicate that he wants to see Zambia where every citizen has access to clean, safe clean water, food, decent housing, electricity, housing, quiet education, health service, and decent jobs in this country. Do you think this is attainable? Looking at your youth, and during your campaigns, you touched on a number of these things in your manifesto. Do you think this is attainable, like he has put it in the speech?
Interesting question. You see, when the president was about to give his speech, I was very excited because I really wanted. I'm 25 years old. When I ran for the race of mayor, youngest ever candidate this country has ever seen, I was 24 years old. So when I was hearing his speech, I was anticipating a place where I'll fit in, because when I looked at the theme, it was 2030. So I looked at it in a space of, or rather, the youth looked at it in a space of, in 2030, I'm 25 years old, so I will be 35 years old, or yes, somewhere there. So I was expecting a clause where it would be heavily backed by the youth driving the vision, because you can imagine the president uttered over 80,000 words and he only mentioned youth 12 times. And in those 12 times, 9 was in one paragraph about a certain refugee camp that was turned into a training for the youth. And I was very disappointed, because I thought to myself, and I said, I'll be there in 2030. But I don't think Edgar Lungu will be there in 2030. So how is it possible that we have been deliberately excluded from a 2030 vision? Because realistically, the youngest, when you look at the age in Parliament, the only youngest one is 30 years old, who is, I think, Mr. Tembo from Petauke. He'll be 40 at that time. So the likelihood of the whole entire August House of Parliament being there in 2030 is very minimal. So I was expecting a place where I'll begin to see a 2030 vision which will be driven by the youth. In my perspective, I was very excited, because I thought to myself, like, for the first time, it's 2030. So definitely 2030 should be the youth. For me, and when the speech finished, I downloaded it, I read it again, and I have the copy. And I was so disappointed that that even up to now we have a government that has not recognized the potential of the youth, and it's touching, it's painful, but we are not giving up.
Okay, President Mulongoti, you've been in politics for quite a number of time, and you are once served as a cabinet minister, and I think you've listened to a lot of speeches in your political career. And looking at a speech which was given to Parliament last Friday, we've seen even the cabinet minister saying, no, the speech was inspiring. It has touched all key sectors of the economy and all sorts of things. How do you look at the entire speech which was given to Parliament by President Edgar Lungu?
Well, let me say is that he can't write a speech for himself. It's written by technocrats. So the challenge is that they believe in the speech reading. Your experts can write things for you. Your commitment to that speech is what's important. Here is a speech delivered in 2017. Here. If you look at this speech, official opening of second session of the 12th National Assembly by His Excellency Mr. Edgar Lungu, President of the Republic of Zambia. You see, you judge a person by actualization. It's not the words they say, but it's what they physically do. From what he said in 2017, if you dissect that, you will see that very little. This year, you're repeating the same words, except the framers of the speeches were a little more clever to try and make it appear like it's a new speech. There's nothing different from what was said in 2017. Secondly, it's a wake-up call for all of us. That when in mature democracies they insist that they must know who you are before they give you the highest position in the land. Even just as a councillor, they want to check you out. But here you are. When you stand next time, we'll know who you are. Because we'll have heard you speak, we'll have seen you on television. That is the reason why. Because your history, your orientation, have got a lot to do with who you are in life in future. And I don't want to be unfair to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia. He was fair enough to tell us he had no vision. I want to say this because I participated in campaigning for him. Two of us sat down to draw up something for him as a guide on the subjects to discuss in the campaign. Because we could see very clearly that, look, he was not gifted at speaking, that's one of them, and two, he was not a politician. So this task you've given him, we're being unfair to him. I think what we need to do is ask ourselves what have we done to help him.
Okay. Now coming back to Mr. Musukwa here, I think my main focus will be on the youth aspect. And did also mention that there's need for citizens to be resourceful, efficient, and productive in whatever we do. Now, is the environment conducive for young people in this country to attain these three things that he mentioned, to be resourceful, efficient, and productive in whatever they do? Is the environment conducive for young people to manage to achieve these three things that he mentioned?
I'm sitting here and I'm being amused by Mr. Mike Mulongoti. He's been someone who I've watched and followed for a very long time. So I have never looked at it from the perspective that is looked at it. But let me jump to your question. The realities of life in Lusaka or in Zambia is that let me take you back to Youth Day. Youth Day, for the first time in the history of Zambia, we saw the government banning march pasts, and I was youth president by then of my political party, and I applied to participate in the Youth Day exhibitions right at the government complex. Miraculously, I was picked. What was strange about it is that not even the PF government had a stand for the youth. That's just number one. Then number two, I can tell you that I saw powerful entrepreneurship projects, handmade projects, which when you look and when the colleague explains it to you, you're like, how come these things have not been brought to a level where we can say this is what, when you look at Facebook, Mark, it was just a simple project from the lab. When you look at Windows, it was a simple project. So basically, even the Bible says it's your talent that should take you to the presence of kings and queens. And I was in a place full of talent, full of young men. Guess what? The president, His Excellency Edgar Lungu, despite being on the program, did not come. The vice president did not come. So There was so much potential, and I was thinking, if I was Edgar Chagwalungu and I walked through those turns, the first thing that I would do is adopt at least all the projects, because that is the only way we can show that we are helping the youth. But the whole exhibition of the youth ended up being like a show, like a jet show that when I was in grade 12 or in grade 9 at Hillcrest, it was just a whole frenzy show. And I looked at when you look at your question, is the environment helpful for the youth? The answer is no. Is it possible that we can live in a country where we've got so many entrepreneurship young men and minds, but there's no sponsorship? When you look at our political parties, the PF, the youth chairperson is not a youth. When you look at the UPND, the youth chairperson is not a youth. So when you say, is the environment fertile for the youth to expand or to explore, the answer is no. It's because we've been deliberately sidelined, and this is something that has been going on for a long time. That is why I earned a nickname in my last election that I'm the firstborn of my generation. We've been lied to that politics never cool. You're not yet ready. But I am saying that there's a potential in the youth that is there, that clearly has been ignored. The same way I've said that I was disappointed when I read the whole speech of, because when I went on Facebook, I was seeing a lot of posts that it's been exciting, it's a nice speech. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me listen to it. And I listened to it, and I was like, where do I fit in this speech? Where is Madaliso Musukwa? Where are the youth? Where are the graduates from the University of Zambia? The graduates from the Copperbelt University, NIPA, Evelyn Horn? Where do they fit in this whole speech? And the truth is, we fit in nowhere. That is why even the youngest candidate, the youngest MP, who's from PF, who's 30 years, it's surprising that he's not the minister of youth, or he's not the chairperson of youth. It is deliberate. So for me, I'm saying that the environment, the ground, has been made deliberately infertile for the youth to participate in any area, be it entrepreneurship, be it in leadership, be it in skills, in anything in this country. And it's sad. And I will not stop talking about it. I am saying that we need a youthful parliament in 2021. We need the youth kuteka. We need the youth watekeko. Let us take care of things in a perspective that I think we understand. Despite the fact that we have a population of this country, 66.6 is the youth. So the youth have got the power to unseat any government and put any government they want, wherever they want to. So basically, that is the strength of the youth.
Okay. Mulongoti, Mr. Lungu is asking the citizens of Zambia to, say that they mean what they say, and that they want to leave no one behind. After saying that they do acknowledge that there are some citizens in this country who are struggling to make ends meet, and that there are those who are disadvantaged by reason of gender and disability. They're asking you to believe whatever they say, and yet at the same time saying that they do acknowledge that there are some citizens who are struggling to make ends meet. Do you think they're doing enough for you to believe what they say to end this suffering among the Zambian citizens?
Let me start by saying this is a Christian platform. And let's go back to the Bible. There was Moses, Aaron, and Joshua. Those were prominent in the struggle for the Jews going back to the promised land. They were chosen for the purpose. Zambia, the Bajamani president from independence. How many presidents have we had?
We've had Kenneth Kaunda, we had FTJ, Mwanawasa, Rupia, Michael Chilufya-Sata, and the incumbent.
So he's had to count it. It's not just in the mind that there are 6. He had to count. Let me say this. God has given us Zambians an opportunity to assess amongst ourselves in fairness. Each president who has been on the scene has got his own legacy. Others, you can't remember what they did. But God is a very fair God. He will not push anything on you. He will give you an opportunity to choose yourselves. And if you recall, one time the children of Israel rebelled against God. They wanted their own king. And they said, please, if I give you this person, he might treat you. They insisted. And they gave themselves. We deserve what we've got. Because Our current president is not a stranger to most of the people who live in Osaka. They lived with him in Jawama, in Jaki, all over. So he's one of us. Now, the first thing that was evident with him is that economically he was not a strong person. So the first thing was, first of all, to strengthen his position economically. So when you're talking about youth employment, youth what, that's not part of his priority. The first priority was make it hay while the sun shines. And this is evident. I'm not being unfair to him. He's accumulated so much wealth in the short period. So if he had to share that wealth with you today, maybe we could be talking about youth programs and what have you. And this is where the problem is. We deserve what we have got. Because at the end of the day, it's about Zambia, it's about all of us. I went into Parliament in 1995. Most of these people in Parliament, they were nowhere near Parliament. I've seen Parliament, I've seen people come and go and what have you. The question I keep asking myself is this: why are we so careless in interrogating those who offer themselves to public service? As long as Mr. Musukwa can shout the loudest, we'll run for Mr. Musukwa. As long as the Reverend here is a silent mouth, it is not worth paying attention to. But you see, we must do interrogation that are deep and real. Because like they say, leopard does not change spots overnight. So what you are in your youth like this, I don't think you will change it 20 years from now. Because unless you accumulate knowledge, like they say, the accumulation of knowledge with a bit of luck ferments into wisdom. Because you are purposeful. In mature democracies, they start grooming you to be an MP, to be a minister. Don't think President Macron of France just came from nowhere. It was a project. They worked on him, and we should begin to do that. This is the right age you are starting. We should help you. Now, can I ask you a question? Has anybody in government called you after the election as a mayor?
No.
Why? They did not see you? They didn't see talent in you? As far as they were concerned, you were an irritant because you are too young, aggressive, showing promise. Paying attention to you is a waste of time. This is a complaint that I have. We are not paying attention to the future. Now, you, the future, one challenge you are facing is this. You are scared of party cadres. You are scared of people in the streets who threaten you. Now, you see, in the process you surrendered your rights to people. Some of them can hardly read and write. And that's where the problem we have. We have people in positions of authority who cannot vouch for their past, who cannot account for who they are. So for you, since you started very early, I would like you to tell your fellow youths that nothing will be given to you in a silver platter. You've got to take it, you've got to go for it. I followed the Obama's life quite closely. I went as far as Harvard University, where he was, just to appreciate him because I'm a keen follower of his work. He didn't come by accident. It was a planned, purposeful journey. And I would want you, the youth, not to wait to be told that you are a leader of tomorrow. Now, how can you be leader of tomorrow? You mean amongst young people they should be leaders amongst themselves? So anyway, from what you are saying that you want to leave nobody behind, ask yourself, are the lifestyles that leaders are living in consonant with the lifestyles of the average person in Zambia? If somebody is at the 5 square meals per day and tells you you're hungry, let's walk with me. Tell me, would you believe that person? Because in the first place, all of you must have at least something to eat. I see a lot of young men walking from Tendere into town every day in search of opportunities. Does anybody care about that? What the council has done is to fight those who are even making an effort to sell things on the streets. Grab those things, no record, or the capital is swallowed. Now surely, that's not fair. I don't think our environment is averse to people becoming entrepreneurs. Majority of people you see in the streets selling are young people. But those are the ones you are chasing all over like thieves. Innocent, honest young men trying to make a living. What are you saying? You're quiet, all of you. Why can't you say no to that? Stand up and say no. These are entrepreneurs who are looking for support from government. What they should do is that if you're good at selling, they should help you in that area. If you're good at manufacturing, go to Kalingalinga, go to Mutendere. You will find small factories there. Are they getting support from anywhere? Zero. So those who chosen to try and sell in the street, being chased like wild animals, I want to assure you, nothing comes easy. I made a decision early in life that I wanted to be one day minister. I fought. I grew up in the village. I came to town at 17. I can see if you talk about being disadvantaged in the village, I overcame that. I said to myself, I must see opportunities in these problems. And the fact that I was disadvantaged in the beginning makes me work harder to overcome those problems. And I can tell you all the things I promised myself. I wanted to be educated, travel, to the family, have my own home. These things I have achieved. You understand? So, the challenge to the young people is don't complain to yourselves because nobody is listening. Who is listening? Nobody is listening. If they were listening, I would have told you, I will tell you what they would have done. You were a candidate. You did not lose the election. Alright? But you were disadvantaged by those who had the excessive wealth they can't account for. Alright? You are competing with a person from the ruling party who had materials and money to spare. And you, what you brought, your energy, your youth, your aggressiveness, the passions of youth, that should have been recognized after the election. Because you are not enemy, you are just competitors.
And also your addition to maybe what you have said and maybe to the question that I posed earlier also, there's touched on a number of issues I think which you can also respond to and add to also the question that I had posed, that government wants the people of Zambia to listen to what they say because they mean what they say. And after knowing that there are some people in this country who are struggling to make ends meet, and those that try to sell in the street, like you said, are being pushed left, right and center, and young people being intimidated by party cutters, those that do not support the ruling party and want to trade in markets. Maybe they have got buses in bus stations that are being kicked left and right and center by those cutters who are in the ruling party. Maybe also your addition to what he has mentioned.
Yeah, I strongly think that it's very important and profound what Mr. Mike Mulongoti has said, President Mike Mulongoti has said, because for me it is something that it bothers me. Number one, that we've got a youth energy that does not recognize itself. We are an energy that thinks we need permission to do a lot of things. It angers me because the more you labor and try to tell people we can do this, the response is bazatumanga. No will be the makadas wanamamfuti. So it is a tough place that we're in. But like the president has said, Mr. Mike Mulongoti, is that nothing comes for free. So the fight shall continue. Then secondly, I have a problem with the term that the PF uses as governance, because I believe governance is the rule of people, not the rule of potatoes who do not react or think back to decisions. But we've got a government who's saying that whatever we do, just follow, because it's the right thing to do. Just recently, we saw that, some months ago, the whole police service was almost sold to the Chinese. So for them, it was a good decision until it was rescinded some few days ago. ZNBC, when you go there, there's a bus, 2 roster buses of Chinese people. They didn't lock the studios when they're going home. So these are things that we are seeing. So when they say that we are giving you what's on the plate, take it, or actually take it or take it, it's something that for me, it baffles me when they say they're making good decisions. Just yesterday, we were shocked that out there in the community world, a verdict has already been passed that in Zambia there's corruption. But when the president came back and realized, he said, let us lobby investigations or let us launch investigations. How can you launch investigations when the truth is already there? So it is we live in a period where we have leaders who are not on earth. They are in a realm that we don't exist. It's okay for them. It's all right for them. That is why you can see that everything that they are doing, it looks like we are not in the equation. Nobody in this country is in the equation of the PF governance. Personally, we wake up every day and see 13 great tax on internet calls. Oh no, speed cameras, whether you like it or not. This is the era that we live in. We live in an era where we are subjected to governance when we should be a stakeholder to governance. Because in any case, we vote for a government, we vote for a political party. So when we put you there, it is as good as it is one and the same thing. We can't all be presidents, we can't all be ministers, we can't all be leaders at the same time. So at that particular point, you are helping facilitate a governance. But we've got a situation where it is one-sided. And Mr. Mike Mulongoti, rather, I was shocked rather that someone told me the same thing that you've told me, that the real truth is that the elders, or rather the leaders of now, are not ready to let go of power. And they'll do everything to ignore real change. And that's the reality. Like he has said, we are not enemies to the PF government. We are opposition. So in any case, like when Obama won his election, the first person he called was Clinton, because he realized that that is governance. But the reason why the PF didn't pick up the phone call, even when you read the speech of Mao Sampa, the mayor, he did not acknowledge any of the candidates. It's because they live in a world where only them exist. And the funny part about life is that once upon a time we had UNIP, we had MMD, and we have PF. And PF will go. So it's reality. You cannot be umuyayaya. You cannot be there forever and forever. And the more things are being done like this, they'll push Zambians in a corner. And when you push anything to a corner, it will react. It's physics. For every reaction, there's an opposite reaction. Sometimes opposite reaction might even be more fierce. So I think for me it is sad that we can be saying this, but we are going this. We can declare keep Zambia clean and green, but we are removing grass and putting pavers because the Chinese have got pavers. So it is in that vein that it is rhetoric. We can be signing although today we've signed a peace treaty between this political party and this political party, but tomorrow they are the same people in the battlefield. So everything is rhetoric. Everything is on paper for the PF. Everything is in a world of we know what we are doing. You don't need to be involved. And for me, it is sad. I was very embarrassed on behalf of His Excellency Edgar Chagwa Lungu that out there we've been recognized as a country that is corrupt, but in-house it is not known. Only today, that is when we are seeing a statement here and there, but an EPA does not change sports overnight. These are things that have been there. We know that there's office of the president everywhere, even in bars. So even in the ministry where corruption has been more, there was OP. So OP must have taken evidence to the president and said, this is what's going on. But it was ignored. So for me, it is just heartbreaking that today, that's when we want to look like we're a country that wants to fight hard and things like that. But the reality is that in the equation of governance, it is the PF plus X. There's no the people. So basically, there's much that there's more that the citizens are yet to be exposed to, and the real truth is that we have no. For me, there is no. A proper, if I can say, something that you can see, a roadmap, something that you can say tomorrow we shall wake up and tomorrow things shall be like this. We just wake up and things just happen. We don't know where we're fitting. So to your question, I think there's much that should be done, okay. A lot that should be done.
Okay. President Mulongoti, before I come to the issue of the Chinese and the issue of the debt contraction, we've had the dismissal of Minister of Community Development, Honorable Emeline Kavanshi, after the UK withdrew their funding to the social cash transfer and other, citing corruption and fraud. And we are also SIDA has withdrawn funding to Zambia. Do you think the dismissal of Madam Kavanshi will change anything? Maybe the perception about that the donors have about this country.
Well, this is too little, too late. We are closing after the horses are bolted. You're already out, that's when you're trying to. Let me say this. The PF government have decided firmly to be unlawful in whatever they're doing. Unlawful. And because they knew that the citizens of Zambia will not pursue them lawfully. I want to say this. They've taken advantage of unlawful conduct. And because the citizens have watched them doing unlawful things. For us, we've decided that if they've chosen to be unlawful, we will be lawful. We've now gone to examine the laws of the land and the constitution itself and the subordinate legislation to try and see whether it's possible to bring order, the rule of law and constitutionalism. Now, our latest project, we're challenging the election of 2016 because the constitution provides that every 5 years you go to an election, but you must also have subordinate legislation to bring about the election. So you must have a law that provides how you are going to file your nominations, you as a candidate. There must be a law that also describes the ballot paper, the summation of totals and what have you. A colleague of mine, Precious Wale, in 2015 went to court to challenge the holding of the referendum. What did they do? They used their influence, whatever happened, they adjourned the matter to after the elections. And they thought the matter would die. He didn't die. He pursued it, and in the end, we had a judgment from the Constitutional Court that there were illegalities in the election. But they said in the end, it did not substantively affect the outcome. Now, what's illegal is illegal. So we've now taken up that matter, that the election, general election, and the referendum were held at the same time. And since the other one was pronounced that there were illegalities, there were also illegalities in this. I want to tell you. They did the filing of nominations from the 27th of May to the 3rd of June 2016. The enabling law came into effect on the 6th of June, after all the filing had been done. Then the election itself was held on the 11th of August 2016, but the enabling law came into effect on the 12th of August 2016. So you can see these illegalities. And you know, we must pay attention to detail. And that's precisely what we've done. We've written a letter to the Royal State of Zambia to say, there's this illegality, what are you going to do about it? You can move on to many instances. The appointment of constitutional court judges. The law says you must have served 15 years in the practice, human rights, and constitutionalism. None of those occupying that office met that qualification. But they went ahead and appointed them. So like I've said, they thrive on illegalities. But one thing about the law is that it's a long arm. No matter how long it takes, it will come slowly until it reaches you. We're having these challenges because one, if you give ourselves the laws, we must respect them. And the Constitution in the preamble says, we give unto ourselves this Constitution. And anybody who breaches it is indirectly fighting us, because that Constitution is for Zambians. But you've seen people who are in office breaching the law continuously with impunity. Look, we are being invited to go and submit to the Public Order Act. Submit what? This was a challenge in court by Mulongoti and the others, and the Supreme Court simply said, you don't need to get permission from the police. All you need to do is notify them, so they can give you protection if you need it. But if you think you are safe on your own, you can arrange your own marshals, you can proceed. But it's become now something else. You must get permission. Now, that's not what interpretation of the judgment was. It was just simply straightforward. You don't need permission, you need to notify them. And people will now ask us, come and participate in the reform of this law. Now, I say to myself, I do not know whether they think we're too naive that we're invited to do wrong things. I made a decision consciously to go to law school for one reason. I was a lawmaker, member of parliament. I went to law school to learn how to understand the law. And this is why I'm very comfortable, I can tell you, that within the time that is coming, people have got to answer for their unlawful acts. Because the law must be obeyed by all of us. Nobody is beneath the law and nobody is above the law. We're all equal. So, as far as I'm concerned, I can tell you that we've been asking ourselves whether it is us who are wrong or it's our colleagues. So when they do a thing, for instance, they make a declaration, oh, you must all pay, you must all whatever. And the question is this, how about our rights? The need for them to consult us. Look at the targets, I was Minister of Works and Supply when we designed the targets. There was an appreciation that when you put up a target, it can be an infringement on your right of movement. So it was expected that you must provide another way where those who can't afford can use. Have you seen that done? If you just put up these things, if you have no money, tough life. But your right of movement is ensured in the Constitution. And you see, it's as citizens must begin to ask questions. Why am I being stopped from going through just because I don't have money? I have a right to move around. Well, that's my right. Now, that target thing is a subordinate law to the Constitution which protects your rights. So these are issues that we're going to examine very carefully, knowing that our friends have got power, authority, police, guns, money. So all of us were expected to go crawling and say, police, sir, reduce this 30 way on bundles. And the arrogance that they are displaying is extremely uncalled for. Zambians are very good people. They engage debate. They love debate. They want to engage you. But they are being treated like, who are you? So what? We are the Alpha and Omega. What you decide must go. Look at this issue of taxation. I campaigned with Mr. Sata. The attraction to his message was lower taxes, more money in the pockets, more employment, fight against corruption. I shared the platform with him. I told him I will not join a political party for one reason. Your constitution says institutions of the state shall be subordinate to the party organs. That's what we fought against in the UDP. So let us campaign. Me as Mike Mulongoti, you as Michael Sata with your PF, let's campaign together. Understand? The message was attractive to me. Lower taxes, more jobs, more money in the pocket, what have you. Today, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. Now I feel guilty that I supported the coming of a regime which had made those commitments. I have never heard Mr. Lungu even refer to even one speech that Mr. Sata made when he was campaigning to get into office as the PF government. I've never heard Mr. Lungu refer to one, the Millennium Development Goals, the 2030 vision. These are not new things. These are things they found. Even this issue of national development plan is being forced on them. Now surely, if you're going to Kabwe, you don't know the road, first of all, find out. Don't just start off at I'll get there somehow. And that's what they've been doing. They've been starting off to do things and only discovering later that they were going the wrong route. Talk about the Eurobond. They borrowed the money not knowing what to do with the money. In the end now it's become a fate on us. I tell you, it's sad.
Mr. Musukwa, your audition also on the same question I posed to President Mulongoti here concerning, before I come to the issue of the Chinese, which you touched on, and the issue of debt contraction and the justification which has been given in the speech, made also in addition to the question that I had posed to President Mulongoti here.
Can you just clarify on the question?
I said, the UK aid has withdrawn funding from Zambian government, citing corruption and fraud, and we've seen the dismissal of Madam Kabanshi, who was the minister. Does that in any way change the perception that those donors have about this country?
Like President Mulongoti has already had alluded to, you're closing the gates after the horses have already gone. It's too late. When you look at the whole situation, there's been on social media, there's been a voice clip that's been circulating. It's in Vanak. She said that, okay, I don't understand politics, but let us look at it from a simple perspective. She said, awazungu atipasa ndalama. Obviously ndalama emangena mu banki. Ndalama ikangena mu banki, pochosa kumangala kuzisainisa. Ndani zo sign up. Then muntu akasign up. Tei kumangala tukoyenda. Yizonda kuti. Then umuntu atenga ndalama. Ama shitakwata sign. So when you listen to it, I was like, she's right. It is not a one woman thing that has happened here, that she's the only corrupt one. It came from on top. It came from where the money came from. Who was there when who went to campaign for the money? Who knew that the money has come? Who told her she can withdraw that money? Who told her? It's a whole system. It is not an individual, and that is governance. Governance is a system. It is not an individual. So, in any case, if we had to streamline it from that voice clip, it is not her. It is the whole entire system, and unfortunately, she's the one who's on the spotlight. Because there's so much that has gone on in this whole thing, and it is just unfair. It is playing a blind eye to the whole situation, to say that the Minister of Community Development minister was the corrupt one. She was part of a corrupt system, in all fairness, because she doesn't work alone. So
let me also help you.
Yes.
The Auditor General's reports every year review massive thefts here and what have you. One ministry which is always cited is the Ministry of Health. Have you ever heard the dismissal of the Ministry of Health?
Not at all.
Which other ministries? They are cited in the Auditor General report annually. And the report goes to Parliament and goes to the President. So, Madam Kabanshi, tough luck. You know, we all know that in fact, you are being punished as a way of sending a message to the outside world. They are doing something about it. But look, let me remind Mr. Lungu. Mr. Lungu told the Republic of Zambia, the people of Zambia, that he knew he had corrupt ministers in his cabinet. So was he waiting for the British to withdraw ahead to get rid of Ms. Kabanshi? Are you sure Ms. Kabanshi she's the only one who has been cited? I'm sure there are many more. Why is he being selective? Look, the British, the Americans, they've got embassies here. They live with us. So they've got all of this information. That's why when we say too little, too late, they already know. And one thing about our friends from the West, they are very particular on accountability and the issue of corruption. And I can assure you, if we challenge them to say, tell us where these people have taken the money they've stolen from us, it won't be long to give us all the details. And what excites me is this: the Chinese are like Indians. If you go in a deal with the Chinese, all you need to do is ask yourself whether tomorrow, when a policeman holds his hand, you want to become a choir. Once a policeman holds the hand of a Chinese, he will speak volumes. Because they don't want to go to prison. So all those who have done wrong things, we shouldn't even panic over it. We should just tell the Chinese, come here. You are dealing with this man, tell us what we did together. They will sing for us, I can tell you. So it's not a strange thing. Now, but the Western world is also good to record, because the movements of money in the world is monitored for reasons of terrorism and drugs. So you can't send money anywhere. But even if you were to carry bags of money, to where? Because where the people that receive that money, they have to account for that money. That's why this Financial Intelligence Center is for a purpose of ensuring that Mr. Musukwa is got genuine money. If you got genuine money, you can enjoy it anywhere in the world. But when you can't account for how you earn that money, they've made it very difficult now. Very difficult. My little girl was trying to send money to England for her college. They could not transmit the money until they were sure that it was going for educational purposes. That is how serious. So most of these you are seeing, they have stacks and stacks of money in the houses.
Trunks.
They don't know what to do with that money. They can't take the money to the bank because they got to explain where they got it from. And especially if it's in dollars, to change it into kwacha is another challenge. So I want to say this to the people of Zambia. You've done enough to support your government. You've been peaceful. Even in the face of brutality, you've been very patient and peaceful. What we want to assure you ourselves is that we are going to take things lawfully. We will challenge every decision as per the law. They might manage to water down everything because they're in power. But for how long will they be in power? They're going to be gone. At the Mulongoti, so we shall remind them in future. When you were in that office, remember you did this. What will happen? We are appealing to our colleagues that look, stop being arrogant, stop depressing the people, especially with your taxes. The taxes have made people so angry. A colleague of mine I met on this speed trap you raised, this is your speed traps. He's been picked 5 times or so. And all these you're talking about 400, whatever. Now he said to me, if you go to Rasa, there are many people there. And I spent 2 billion, 2,000, whatever. You could see angry people in the land. Angry. Now, this is not right. The responsibility of the government in the world is maximizing the happiness of citizens. Are they maximizing our happiness? Or they're stressing us every day? And you see them in these big cars at our cost. In the meantime, they're saying you must pay through blood. People got no jobs, their income is too low. But they're saying, whether you like it or not, this law is there, you must pay. Now that kind of attitude, you stress your people to a point where, you know, it is said that a law observed more in breach than in observance ceases to be law. If you put up a law, everybody is resisting it. Just know it's a bad law. Because it's supposed to bring order. People are willing to conform, people are willing to cooperate, as long as the law is just. You can see that there's justice, there's fairness in it. But we've seen people arrogantly imposing taxes, arrogantly. That is a dangerous situation.
Okay. Mr. Musukwa, I think you earlier on did mention something about Chinese investments in Zambia, and we've seen a lot of statements coming from government officials regarding its relationship with the Chinese government. And the president did mention, I think in paragraph 155 and 156, where he said, we are proud of our friendship with China, Europe, America and India. We are proud of our friendship with AU, SADC, COMESA and other individual countries. I therefore implore you, countrymen and women, to ignore, to ignore the misleading headlines that seek to malign our relationship with China by mischaracterizing our economic cooperation to mean colonialism. China does not have that record, neither does it seek a horse and ride a relationship with Zambia.
Okay, let me take you back to the current situation. Cameroon was supposed to host the Africa Cup of Nations, but they were not ready. So what did they do? They told the organizing committee, we're not ready. Please remove this burden from us and give another country. Now let's come to Zambia. The AU. Zambia is cited of wanting to borrow 30 million from the Chinese because they want to accommodate the AU. So it means automatically we cannot host the AU. So why are we forcing an agenda which we can manage? And this is in Congo, it is not free, it's not a grant. So for me, when I look at the Chinese, they're not a genuine friend. Because why give you money and say, because I personally, I'd only been to Mulongoti last year, and because of the debate, once, my whole, I don't know how many years. So is it a beneficial thing to host the AU for Zambia, or is it, for me, it's just not adding up. So the relationship of China is not genuine, because 60% of ZNBC is gone. When I alluded to the police almost going to the Chinese. When I went to Choma, we had gone to, I think, works in the party, and we were looking for a breakfast place in the morning. We entered the shop and we found Chinese making buns, breads. This is the investment which we are calling friendship from the Chinese. They are making bread. And we are saying that they are a genuine friend. The Chinese have now even started doing taxi businesses. They're doing every business in our country. And we're looking and we're saying they are genuine people. These are people who love us. Why is it that we are not telling the Chinese to begin to make industries in Zambia, industries of where we are going to generate the copper into things, where we're going to start generating the mukula into things. So for me, the honest truth is that I'm not seeing genuineness out of the Chinese friendship. Look at what has just happened right now. The America, or rather our friends from the West, they've seen corruption and they've pulled out. Because for them it's all about morals. But our colleagues, our friends, do they even know when they cross the boundaries or when they do not cross the boundaries? It is business as usual. That is why Mutengata heroes, they were doing it in the night. Because there's a certain level of education that they do not want to give to the Zambians. So basically, for me, the relationship of Zambia-China, it is not a good one. The first thing you see when you come from the KK International Airport is a billboard, Bank of China. You can imagine someone coming in this country and the first billboard they see is Bank of China. What perception are we being given? What really is the real truth? When AVIC first came into this country, they were not a construction company. They were a company that I think came for, they were training, they were doing trainings. But they began to realize the business avenues that are in this country, and it has transformed. So for me, I think the Chinese, the way we are treating them, we are not treating them like a partner. We are treating them like a father, a god, someone who we cannot live without. Of course, we need them, but to a level where we undermine our Zambians, to a level where the Chinese begin to do street vending, Yama phones in town. I think that's not fair. We are persecuting our own people, chasing them, because when you look at the PF, they said job creation, but they've destroyed the job of young men who are selling in the street. When they said lower taxes, every day they're increasing taxes. Now in the speech of His Excellency, he was talking about water and boreholes, but do they realize that there's a tax on borehole? So why say one thing and go the other thing and go the other way? So for me, Mr. Derek, it is not true when we say the Chinese relationship is very genuine. I think there's more of the benefiting side of them than us as the Zambians benefiting.
President Mulongoti, I take also, you seem to have only 6 minutes.
Okay. It's a lie for anybody to say that whoever comes from America, Britain, China, they come here because they love us. They're not our lovers. They are here to pursue interests, economic interests, interests with land, interests with what. So if we can answer that question ourselves, that what are they here for, then we know why they're here for. Okay? Now, when you get to, you visit at your house, and then instead of having a conversation in the living room, you take me to your bedroom. The next time I come, where do you think I'll go? That's what you've done. You've opened everywhere, including your bedrooms. And you know why? For a simple reason that they are benefiting as individuals. What the Chinese are doing here, we can't blame them all together. They found willing partners here in crime. They can't negotiate properly in English, So they come to your office and say, hey, you friend for me, here, a briefcase. You open, you find the American dollar there. They say, sign here. And you sign. Can you blame the Chinese? You have an obligation and responsibility to your country to simply say, what are you giving this briefcase for? You're not my friend. What are you looking for? And that is the culture now. Look, ask any Chinese, they produce a card of a minister. You don't have cards for ministers. You have cards for ministers. But this Chinese, so that you challenge him, you produce a card. Says, I'll call this one, minister, this one, minister. You understand? That's how we've gone to cheapen ourselves. We can't blame them. We are responsible for what we are getting. Because I dealt with Katik myself. Katik that time before I became Havik. Katik. They manufacturers of airplanes, they manufacturers of earth-moving equipment and what have you. We bought some equipment for the National Service. When I was Deputy Minister of Defense, I was Chairman of the Board of National Service. That's the first time I came into contact with them. We ordered some equipment, whatever, but anyway, I didn't go to China. Our friends went, so I understand them very well. I know where the headquarters was. Now look, they were not in the mood of corruption. You understand? They were genuine people who came to do business and what have you. Suddenly, they found colleagues who, besides being leaders, they also were dealers. So the first thing they want to do is to negotiate for themselves. And after they are finished with that, that's when they say, what's in it for Zambia? So in the process, what do you think a Chinese here for? To make money. If you're going to give me contracts and contracts and contracts, you think they can say no? Why are you giving me the contracts? I'm making a benefit. And that's when you say Bank of China. What does that imply? There's no difficulties. They go and deposit the money in your bank. Who is going to question them? Now when you allow that, you're creating a problem for yourselves. Sometimes I'm aware that when the Chinese government asks our government here, because they are not paying their contractors, they even ask them, would you allow us to pay them from here in China to save you the trouble? And when you say yes to that, what are you saying? You are taking employment away from your people, you are allowing the money not to circulate into the economy. I do not know whether people are being deliberate or they are being selfish, but I can tell you, it's a disaster for us.
Okay.
I have no wish to allow anybody to say the Chinese are the ones who are causing problems. We have done it ourselves because we've embraced them into our bedrooms.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mulongoti and Mr. Musukwa, for coming. Time seems to move so quick when there are so many issues to tackle in this 50-page speech that was delivered to Parliament on Friday by President Edgar Lungu. This has been a society which comes to you every Wednesday from 18 to 19. For me, Kayombo and the entire production team, goodbye, God bless you, and see you next week.
Claimed that were forged signatures. Maybe you remember some of the allegations.
Worship and the body politic should not participate in partisan politics.
Wakateka na wakwata Egypto, its preoccupation now is to give a good service to the people of Zambia.
Kuzisa abana bange kuba nili pano so nila abana kunyumba huko so pano kweli kampo pano nikatulipia ndiramba.
For us, we only wide the facts. The decision of the party, whoever they are going to choose, but